Yes, we are. Adnan, take pictures. Good. All right. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome. This session will be about Windows 10. I'm actually looking at my clock. I set a timer for him because I was looking at the schedule and it said like 75 minutes for a keynote, and I just did a keynote in Helsinki with 2 times 20 minutes, and I just did a keynote with 45 minutes somewhere else, and I was like super happy, like someone finally in Europe gave me 75 minutes for a keynote. And then yesterday I told him like, I have 75 minutes for the keynote, that's awesome. He said, no, we're cheating. It's because no one will be there if it says my name and I'm going to talk about logistics and agenda. So we just hide it inside of your session, so you get 60 minutes and I'm going to take 15 from the beginning. I was like, no. So you have to skip, you have to be faster. So I'm really thankful that you did it in less than 10 minutes. So that was awesome. Thank you. What we're going to talk about today is Windows 10. And I'm quite sure you've heard a lot about the start menu and stuff like that. So I thought I'd try to make this somehow about the stuff that's actually cool in Windows 10. I was already introduced. I was here last year, so I've seen quite a few of you already. I've seen a few of you on my classes as well. So my name is Sami Laiho. I'm from Finland. I am teaching mainly troubleshooting and security. Now some Windows 10 as well. Just did a Windows 10 launch tour in Sweden. Different places in Sweden, so a little bit of Windows 10 in more general as well, but usually troubleshooting and security. Proactive security is my specialty, and any sort of troubleshooting. I've been doing this I was so amazed. Thanks for Raynet. I totally didn't come here expecting to win something from the conference, but yesterday I won a free license for their product for 1 year. So I was amazed, because although my wife disagrees, but I still think I'm young, and I was sitting in the class yesterday and someone started asking, when did you start doing software packaging? And then people started telling years. And then someone said like 1999, and I was like, well, I'm a speaker, so I don't want to offend no attendees, so I don't want to win this, so I'm just going to get it over with. So I started in 96. Anyone? Oh, shit. Oh yeah, luckily you should have been here yesterday. So I won the freaking thing with 96. I was 16 when I started doing software packaging, but that's never been really my cup of tea. I'm an OS guy, but I've done software packaging a lot. I think the tool was something called sysdiff or something like that. I don't even remember if that's... So, but yesterday we were trying to bang our heads together with a friend of mine, like, what the heck was the tool even called? Because it's actually amazing that it's 20 years ago. But yeah, I've done some software packaging as well. I speak in a lot of conferences. I travel about 200 days a year. I would highly recommend you to become a loyalty member of your airlines. I'm a highest possible loyalty member of British Airways, and I fly to Chicago with my friends to Ignite to speak there. And I was sitting in the airplane on the first row of the economy class, and a flight attendant comes to me like, all the people are sitting there, so I was so proud because the beautiful flight attendant comes there and says like, are you Mr. Laiho? Yes, I am. We would like to thank you for your loyalty, and gave me a bottle of water. Oh, that's a freaking expensive bottle of water, like 10,000 euros. So I highly recommend it. Luckily this is recorded, so British Airways will thank me for this. But another bottle of water, yes, I'm quite sure. A thank you would have been better than a bottle of water. Okay, you can find me on Twitter. I counted. Last night I went back to the hotel at about midnight, and I counted the tweets that have something to do with this app management. And there were 9 tweets that were not mine, and 8 tweets that were mine of the total of 17. So come on. If you're not on Twitter, get on Twitter. I was just laughing about it because I I realized that I was used to be subscribing to RSS feeds and read blogs and stuff like that, but I don't have a single RSS feed subscribed to anymore. I don't read a single newsletter list anymore because everything's on Twitter anyway. There's like no use for any other media. I used to hate it because Finnish were the first people with Swedish to send SMS messages between countries, and we sent 160 messages about like 3 decades ago. So there were 160 character messages about 3 decades ago. And like my US people get 140 a few years ago and the freaking world explodes. So I wasn't that happy about it first, but nowadays I would never survive a day without it. Compare enterprise agreement customers with high critical alerting from Microsoft get the critical alerts in maximum of 45 minutes. Average now on Twitter is 7 minutes. So it's 38 minutes that you're late compared to your security friends. Okay? I always start by talking about, I'm happy. Yesterday people already asked me, are you gonna teach us Finnish? Yes, I am. I always start my sessions by teaching Finnish. We have a nice language, Finnish. It's also known as what we call voice over IPsec. It's like an encrypted language totally. So yesterday we were walking from the city back to the hotel with some other vendors and speakers, and we were talking with my friend, and the guy next to us was like, what is that? It's Finnish. Oh, yeah, cool. So I started last time by showing us what we have on the user interface, so I'll show you another example. If you get gpedit.msc, that's the group policy editor, in the Finnish user interface, it's this. Oops. So it's ryhmäkäytäntöobjekti-editori. That's a simple Finnish word. Finnish is simple because everything on the left-hand side, spruce is on fire, the spruce returns, the number 6 is on fire, the number 6 returns, 6 of them are on fire, 6 of them return, your moon is on fire, your moon returns, and 6 pieces is a lot simpler in Finnish because every single one is the same, 6 palaa. So now you learn a lot. Easy. Well, to get to the point itself, there's some amazing stuff in Windows 10 that you've probably heard about. They're talking about the cool new start menu, and they announced a few weeks ago that now they have, because of feedback, they have gotten rid of the limit of 512 objects on the start screen or start menu. Wow, that was really a problem for me all the time. So now it's up to 2048 if you were worried about this, okay? Virtual desktops. Well, first, a few things about the start menu. I always tell this to people. We should give Microsoft a bit more slack on this. Microsoft changes the way you start programs, and people just go haywire. They go on barricades like, don't change things that work, don't change things that work. Now we got the start menu back, and people are like, Microsoft interviewed people after Windows 10 and asked everyone, and they're like, yeah, the start menu, that's just awesome. Like, thank you for that, thank you for that. And I was just telling people, like, I really hope that if you're this happy about getting the start menu back, you will be as happy when I'll come to your home, take away your DVD, and give you your VHS back. Because that's exactly the same time. Back in 1995, when Microsoft changed the way you start programs, which, just to be clear, is now 20 years ago. So 2 decades ago, they changed the way people start programs. That was the same time that VHS was still 99% of the market. So I remember 1995, I got a DVD player, I went to the local shop. You actually had huge amounts of these video rentals. And I asked for a DVD, and they had 2. One was Pelican Brief by Julia Roberts, and the other one was something I can't mention here. But there were 2 only, okay? So that's kind of like, think about it. Give us the good start menu back, please, please. It's like, come on, 1995. I'm not that hyped about the start menu. Honestly, I don't care that much. I think people will get used to it. MVP Summit. Last year MVP Summit, there was an Ask Me Anything session, and there was a guy from the UX group, which is the user experience group, and he had like, ask me anything about the operating system. And that guy was responsible for Windows 8.1 to get the start button back. So 400 MVPs in the room, and the guy asks, ask me anything. First question. Is there any way to get rid of that start button? And he totally lost it. What the hell? I've been, for the past freaking 12 months, I've done everything to get that freaking button back because you want it, and now you want to get rid of it? So, sometimes it takes a while to get used to stuff. So, virtual desktops. Microsoft did a very good job of not presenting this we support virtual desktops, we support virtual desktops. It's like Microsoft supports virtual desktop like every single other operating system for the past 15 years. So good that they didn't really talk about that much. Windows has supported virtual desktops since 1993. So NT 3.1 was the first to support virtual desktops. Every single time you log on to a Windows box, you have... Okay, let's do this as a question. When you log on to a Windows box, how many desktops do you have? Regardless of the Windows. There's someone, you're showing like this. I'm not sure if you're like victory or 2 because 2 is wrong. 2 is wrong, so it's 3. There's 3 desktops. 1, the normal desktop, 1, the secure desktop nowadays. Before it was used for the security dialog, so you press Control-Delete, and the 3rd one is for the screensaver. Screensaver uses its own desktop, so there's 3 desktops for every. So that's not a thing. It's just never been available except for sysinternals tools. Sysinternals had the virtual desktops tool for past 20 years. But running applications in Windows, think about this. How funny is that? That people, if you ask what's the best thing about Windows 10, first answer is Start menu. That's like, by statistics, that's the first answer. The second answer is, you can now run those programs in Windows. That's amazing. It's like the freaking thing is called Windows. It's like it was designed to do that in the beginning. And now people are like, wow. But it's my wife told me a very good example of real life, like how end users see this stuff. I showed her Windows 10 and she was, that's so cool that they don't use the forced apps anymore. What? Forced apps. I don't know what are forced. Those that take over the screen and you can't do anything else with the computer? Modern apps, yeah, forced apps. But that's her term for it. But it's awesome, because that's actually how many people felt about it. Like, took over the whole computer, can't do anything. A transparent command prompt. After all these years, that's what we get. Let's talk about that a little bit later on, a bit more, okay. This is going to be so fun. There's yesterday I saw so many sessions here. I was lucky to be here. I was supposed to come here only last night, but I came here earlier, so I was here for yesterday, and I saw so many sessions, and people were coming to me after the session like, I'm so sorry I can't be here tomorrow. I had my session already. I would have loved to be on your session. I was like, no, it's way better that you're not on my session, because every one of those said like, I have a customer that's just gonna take 5,000 computers to Windows 8.1. We're just doing this project. And the next session. Yeah, I have this project of 16 different sites going to 8.1. The most stupid thing you can do right now is go to Windows 8.1. That's just like the stupidest thing you can do. And I will happily sign a note. Like, you can quote me anytime. That's just ridiculous, okay? I'll tell you why. So first of all, Windows 8.0 support ends next month. So there's no way of you being in for 8.0 because there's only a few weeks left for the support. Windows 8.1, you're smoked out. The support is officially until 2023. Nobody is there, but you're not going to get any new features. Just smoked out of the system. You will have support, but you're just like the only one who doesn't get it. The slides that I sent to the organizer are not the same as I'm presenting here because everything changed last night at 11:30 p.m., okay? Because this one was in my email inbox. I'm not sure if you had it as well, okay? Now the OneDrive for Business Sync Client Preview. I'm not sure, you probably never heard about it, but Microsoft did some investigation and figured out that there's something wrong with OneDrive, that it's not working. Amazing. I don't know what Sherlock Holmes they needed to find that out, but the sync client was horrible for OneDrive. Tell you the truth, after last night, it's still horrible, but it's not as horrible as it used to be. Okay? Now, this one will be the new sync client, which will combine the business and the consumer sides of OneDrive. And it's available for Windows 7 and Windows 10 and Windows 8. Okay? Nice. And then they asked the executives of Microsoft, just to be sure, you did mean 8 and 8.1. And a quoted answer, no, never. Why? Because everyone in 8.1 will go to Windows 10, we won't support it. So actually anyone in 8.1, you won't get the new client, but Windows 7 users will. So you're just smoked out of the system if you're in 8.1, okay? So start preparing to migrate to Windows 10, all right? So that's just a timestamp from yesterday, so everything just changed a bit. If you're on Windows RT, bye-bye. RT is officially supported still, but it's more dead than 8.1, so don't stay there. Just those devices are really good for scraping your car when it gets cold, but like it's basically what I do with my Surface RT. Windows 10 is now up to the level that they promised. They said that they will not forget about Surface RT users, but Surface RT will get Windows 10 features to some extent. It's now out. It's that KP article that you can install on the RT. You get this new start menu and that's it. Nothing else. So there you are. Now you're done. That's the final thing that Surface RT will get, or Windows RT. What really changes for Windows is the in-place upgrade method. So Microsoft has dramatically changed its opinion on this, because before Microsoft always said that it's always better to install a clean install of Windows because it's more performant and better in every way. Now they've changed. The recommended installation method for enterprises is in-place upgrade. So there is a really big difference in this if you think about it politically. That's a big statement. They would not make it unless it actually is working quite well. That's true. They've done huge amounts of work on the reverting side. So if you miss something, you can revert to the old one. They're testing it out all the time. All the Windows Insider program everyone was told to please, if you can choose, use a in-place upgrade method. Why is it so important? It's so important because Windows 10 will be the last Windows ever, and that means that when you get a build upgrade to Windows 10, you probably can't do a full reinstall every time anyway, because you'll be upgraded maybe 4 times a year. That's why they need this to work. So it supports their strategy of continuously upgrading Windows 10. Now, you can, of course, say that you don't want to do it. That's possible. So there's a few options. One thing you can do is opt for the long-time servicing branch, LTSP version, download the ISO. That's a separate download. That's a separate installation. It's a totally separate OS. It's supported like this. It's supported like this for the next 10 years. You don't have to upgrade. 10 years and you're supported. But that means that they restrict you from using some of the applications. The biggest difference, of course, for many is that they see that there's no Edge browser. So the new browser is not in LTSP. This is not a Microsoft event, luckily, like I've done for the past few weeks, so I can say easily that I don't really give a about it. So that doesn't worry me if there's no Edge. It's kind of easy to understand because if an operating system is supported without updating for the next 10 years, that's just ridiculous to support a browser which connects to the most dangerous resource that we have. So they can't support that in the same way. But you know, when you install your LTSP and start testing it for your customers like I did, there is something really annoying. doesn't have the calculator. Calculator is not supported. It's a dangerous program, so it's not supported in LTSP. So be prepared to download a separate desktop application for calculator or buy a physical calculator like everyone nowadays. Okay. There's also some kind of middle options. This is a home Windows 10. So just a normal Surface 3 that I'm running here. It's upgraded to Windows 10, but it's not a Pro. So I can't even, probably many of you know this, so I can't even disable Windows Update. Microsoft doesn't allow you to disable Windows Update. That's horrible for those of you, just a few of you who might be using, for example, NVIDIA graphics cards. That's just ridiculous, because now the situation for the past few months has been a few different cases with NVIDIA that Windows Update has a new version of the NVIDIA driver. It doesn't work, so you download it and crashes your box. Then you go to NVIDIA's website and download a working version from them, and your computer works fine, but the version number on the driver is lower than on the one in Windows Update. So then a few days later, it will automatically connect to Windows Update, download the driver, install it, and you're off again. You can't say, I don't want to install drivers. That's just ridiculous. You should be, but you can't. So you have to install even drivers. It's ridiculously dangerous if you ask me. I'm not sure if they're going to do anything about it, but that's just the case. There is let's go to the advanced options so you can see it. So this is a normal Windows 8, Windows 10. There's no way, so you can only say that I want to do it automatically or notify to schedule a restart. But I'm forced to be using it. Why is this? Like the big picture behind this. Why is this? Microsoft always has a nice big story to everything, and the big story to this is to make you trust bring your own device more. Reason why this is in place is because people say that bring your own device is not really possible because people don't take care about their computers anyway. Well, now Microsoft forces Windows 10 to update automatically so that people's computers would be up to date. It's trying to make you trust the consumer devices more so they could be brought into the enterprise. Microsoft is still kind of sure that BYOD will take over the world, which I'm not, but anyway. If you look at this from an enterprise version, here's a Windows 10 Enterprise. They talk about stuff like current branch. Current branch in Windows 10 means that you are updating to the newest build. And then there's something called current branch for business. Current branch for business is a way for you to defer the updates for 4 months. So you take all the updates, but you take a 4-month defer for that so that maybe people, if they find some problems or something, your company won't suffer that much. The only option to go to, you can do this with group policy, yes, but this is actually now a current branch for business installation of Windows 10. If I take that off, now I'm current branch for Windows 10. So that's just a single checkbox which changes you from normal to a business version. But if you're talking about long-term if you're talking about LTSP version, that you have to install the whole Windows again. That's a different installation of Windows. Long-term servicing branch, that's a separate ISO that you download. It's a totally different OS. But the current branch for business they're talking about, then that's just this. Provisioning packages. This should make our lives a lot easier. I did this back in when I started packaging, so very long time ago. But actually, that's not totally correct. It was actually 2001 when I did this with my own scripts. So I had a company that I run, and all our computers were bought from an OEM, and we just had a small A4 paper which had instructions. When you go to the shop, ask for this. It said, needs to have a network connection, needs to have 256 megs of memory, needs to have a 4 gig of hard disk, and that's about, and Windows XP Pro, Windows XP Professional. And that will, like, you take the paper and you buy anything that looks like this. Then they brought it to our environment, you plugged it in, you would stick a USB key in, it will join it to a domain, and then group policy would do basically the same as these provision packages do, which is kind of parse a Windows 10 box to be enterprise compliant without reinstalling. You can change the SKU, so you can change the Windows 10 Pro to Windows 10 Enterprise without reinstalling. You can add your MDM clients, you can add your domain joins, you can remove software, you can add software. You can do almost anything with this without reinstalling Windows. Except, and there's an exception for everything, and here the exception is that about half of the stuff that they say here works now, and the rest will work in maybe 6 months. So if you test something out with Windows 10, remember it's not half finished yet. Windows 10 is not near finished yet. Windows 10, I'll tell you something that I'm not sure if I should tell you or not, but if you ask my opinion, Windows 10 will have all the features that were promised to be there in the end of July. They will be in Windows 10 in about April 2016. That's the real fact of how Windows 10 will be ready, like they promised it would be now last summer. And also when Server 2016 comes out, remember you'll get a new Windows 10 build instantly, because they want to get the kernel versions to the same version. So when 2016 comes out, hopefully next summer, you'll get yet another Windows 10 version instantly after that. So just, I can't tell you any dates. As you know, anyone except Microsoft can announce any dates. I say what I always say, Windows Server 2016 today, the announcement of Windows Server 2016 is closer than ever before. That's my official statement. That's all you're going to get. Why does this thing need to work for every one of us? Probably is because of Windows Phone. Windows Phones never had different operating system versions for you to install. But now Windows Mobile, as it's really called, Windows Mobile has Windows Mobile Enterprise. So if you're a company who needs to really effectively operate your mobile phones, do you really want to take that on top of installing all your models of computers right now? You're going to tell that, well, now we start re-imaging all your Windows phones as well. Who the hell's going to want to have that driver catalog to take care of? Nobody probably. That's where it has to work. You take your Windows phone, you transform it to an enterprise version. You can't take that job, or you shouldn't. It's trying to make choose your own device easier. Go to the shop, pick whatever you want, just drop in a package and you're done. So, but as I said, it's going to work later on. If you download the Windows 10 ADK right now and start playing with this, remember what I said. About 50% of the stuff that looks like it should be working is actually working right now. It's a really work in progress. Changing from Pro to Enterprise works like a charm, but for example, some MDM and email client settings, they don't work. Documents say that they should work, they just don't. So consider it as a work in progress. Now, one of the fun parts, fixed conhost.exe. That's how it was supposed to be. You know the guy who announced this at Microsoft when Windows 10 was announced, Joe Belfiore? He didn't read the notes. This is on video. I hope Joe will not see this. No, I hope Joe won't mind. I actually hope he doesn't see this. True, yeah. Okay. Anyway, if he would have read the notes like everyone at Microsoft wanted this message to get out from Microsoft, he would have said something different than, hello all IT pros, we know we kind of forgot you with Windows 8. We had a consumer preview, we had a developer preview, we had no IT Pro preview. We kind of forgot you, but now you guys, we really want to please you guys. That's why you're going to have a transparent command prompt. Nothing. Well, what went wrong? Company strategy since 2006 has been to get everyone away from command prompt and change to PowerShell. And now the second biggest executive at the company comes out like, we have a transparent command prompt, and this is the last Windows ever. What? So he was supposed to say that the console host got upgraded. Console host is the executable that your command line uses, your PowerShell uses. PowerShell now has support for Control-C, Control-V. PowerShell now has support for transparency. It has support for filtering of clipboard contents and stuff like that. PowerShell is nicer to use. The hell, who cares about the old CMD? Kind of. So that the message got out totally wrong. You really want to have it. So let's see this here. Let's see if I have Process Explorer here. I probably don't. So let's change to here. I should. Let's open up Process Explorer, and I was sure I downloaded that, didn't I? I got so many computers here that I'm not sure even myself anymore. No, I probably didn't. Nope. Then we'll do it this way, which I would not like to do, but I'll do it. So we have a command line running here, okay? If you look at this command line, that from this basic processes view looks weird. This is funny that they fixed Task Manager and it's now broken worse than ever before. Because this used to say applications, but you really needed to go to processes because it had nothing to do with applications. Now this says processes, but it has even less to do with processes, but you have to go to details to see the processes. It's like, what? There's like freaking 5 tabs, 6 tabs. Ask someone before you write the names. So every CMD, when you run it, has a con host. Con host is the one that shows you the window. Every time you run PowerShell, so if I run PowerShell here, then PowerShell will run it. There's a nice tip that I learned from someone. If you have someone in your company coming into your company and they pretend to be consultants, what you do is you ask them when they're presenting something, you ask them to type power. If the first one on top is PowerShell, then it's a real consultant. If it's PowerPoint, it's not. So if I open up PowerShell, then I actually did it on 2 computers. So if you open up PowerShell, then what will happen is that then you will see the exactly same thing. There's a con host there, because that's the same window. You know how many times I've heard this, someone showing me like command prompt and PowerShell next to each other, like, you know, these are almost the same. Yeah, they are the same. What? There's different background color, yes. And the other one has quick edit on and the other one doesn't. It's like, it's a freaking same executable. So there's no difference if you do this, as you probably know. I don't need more permissions. I can be a normal user here. So there's no difference now with these 2 windows. They're doing the exactly same. I'm running PowerShell inside of my, well, technically through my CMD, but inside of my same con host. So that's exactly the same thing. And if you're not that good in PowerShell, even a better tip is that this is also the exactly same thing. So now people think, everyone who sees you, they think you use PowerShell really fluently, but you can just type in the old copy del ipconfig stuff. Look more professional. Oh my God, it has transparency, like, I don't know who asked for that. All right, let's get forward. Device card. Now this is something really cool. I'm going to talk about it a bit more at the end of the session. So something that is one of the reasons why I like teaching what I do is because people in this industry usually don't get the time or they don't take the time to learn how the OS itself works. Many people also, then they come to my classes, they're like, I was thinking about joining your class, but I'm a server admin. Like last week, week before in Sweden, I had Skype for Business admins, SCCM admins, MDT admins, Exchange admins, SQL admins, Workstation admins, General Server admins, AD admins, because everyone's running Windows. Doesn't matter. It's all the same. What you do, you should know how Windows works if you want to be a better troubleshooter. It's like, I really rarely find people who, for example, have any idea how virtual memory works, although every single thing about your computer is based on the contents of your memory. That's the only thing that really exists is the memory. Or I meet people who are like, you have your memory and then you have an extra memory, the page file, like memory plus page file. I'm like, what makes page file extra memory? It's nothing to do with extra memory. If something is in the page file, remember it was once in your memory. It's only a backup for memory. It's never extra memory. But like the concepts are so wrong. Now this is fun because I've been teaching this for so long, so this has been the case always. But this is the funniest with me and my colleagues, because they start talking about device card, and all the time I hear this. Device card, that's a small virtual machine running on top of Hyper-V. And that's bullshit. So, sorry for my bad language. I'll explain what device card is, but it's very important for your security. We can see a few demos on it as well. That's the only reason why I have two physical machines here. I send a picture to my wife before the session, like, set up for the keynote, and she answers like, why do you have two computers, like one for the left hand, one for the right hand? But I really can't do that, but it's there only because of the fact that I need a physical machine with really certain characteristics to show you how device card works, okay? Now, I'll show you biometrics. That's the next thing we'll do. So this is a really big thing, although it might look a bit ridiculous first, but it is a really big thing. We need to get rid of passwords. Microsoft joined an alliance called FIDO. FIDO Alliance tries to make two-factor authentication around the world and websites easier. And that's what Microsoft's trying to do as well. So we're trying to use two-factor authentication for everyone. Now they added a hyperlink. When you go to Windows 10 and join it to Azure AD, for example, and Windows 10 and join to Azure AD, then it'll tell you that please, you have to add a PIN code. And for many consumers especially, that looks ridiculous because you used to have maybe an 8-character password, but now it says that to make it more secure, you need to change it to a 4-number PIN code. What? But now they added a hyperlink, like, why the hell is PIN code stronger than password? That's good that they added there. But you have to remember that this stuff is always tied to the physical device. So the first factor in this case is the TPM chip on your machine, and now that PIN code only works with this TPM chip. So if someone steals your PIN, it'll only work on that device. If someone steals your password, it might work on every single device in a big company. That's why PIN codes are safer. They're tied to a single TPM chip. Now, that is our first authentication method, is the TPM. That's my physical ownership, is the fact that I own this computer here. Then there's the next one. And the next one is PIN codes. The next one is biometrics. The next one is, maybe in some cases they look like passwords, but technically they usually are PIN codes. So it's second factor authentication. Biometrics, PIN code, that's what they hope you're using as a second factor. It's pretty hard on an enterprise level if I have to register every computer that I go to. Like PIN code for this TPM, PIN code for this TPM, PIN code for this TPM. That becomes quite hard. That's why for the official release of Windows 10 Mobile, they're aiming to change it to be this. So it is, I can't show you this. I can't really show you this officially anywhere. So anyway, you can use the TPM on this box, you could say. So because I have ownership of this, but this comes to the 10-meter range of my Bluetooth on my machine, that's my physical ownership. As long as this one is in the proximity of that device, I can log on to that box. Now I can only have this with me, so it's easier to travel from computer to another. And people don't forget phones. Well, actually, people forget phones home as well, like they do their smart cards, but the difference is that they'll drive back home to get it. That's why they have changed this to be rather phones than smart cards. Let's do a demo on this. This is going to be fun. I would like to remind you that I don't look this bad in real life. This is an infrared camera that I'm using. This is really funny. Surface 3, and you should see the stuff that I have plugged into this easily movable laptop device, especially the camera. To make Windows Hello work on Surface, you need this small piece of device. So Intel RealSense 3D cameras support this right now. It's in 3 different models before last week. Last week got a lot of new announcements with devices that have these RealSense 3D cameras on them. So now we're gonna get more before Christmas. But now there's 3 laptop models and this external USB device that can support this. So you can't use Windows Hello on any Windows webcam. You need to have special devices to get this to work. So let's go here. My user is here, and I'm going to change my account settings, and I'm going to use the sign-in options, and I have a Windows Hello option here, and I'm going to improve my face. That's not easy to do. Improve recognition, and here you can see it's already looking at me and it's making sure it's me, and it actually recognized me, but I'm going to add some more data. So that's me. Too close? I'm still wondering on, I don't know if you've seen Ignite sessions that I've done, but I made the joke there that, because I teach people how to get rid of admin rights, but I use admin rights all the time. So now what ended up happening is that I found the remarkable thing of fingerprint detection in Windows 8.1. Nothing to do with 10, it was supported in 8.1 already. So I have now the fingerprint detector on my computer there. I thought I would never need it, and now I would never live without it, because to survive my daily work, I have a limited user finger and an admin finger. So, it makes help desks work a bit hard, because when someone comes to you and I would need you to install a software. No, you just need this. But they just walk away. It's easier. So it wasn't meant to be a joke, because I was just registering my fingers and I needed many different user levels. So admin ended up being my middle finger. It took a little bit of guts to show your middle finger to 2,500 people in Chicago in the US, because European people are a bit more relaxed in some cases. It's like I just got this is my first Ignite ever. What am I going to do now? So, yeah, anyway, that's my admin finger. But now what about this? So people started asking me, like, what are you going to do now? Because you need an admin face. Shit. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I'm still experimenting. I have my first intention was this. That might kind of work. And then I had a nice tweet from someone. They told me that we're going back to Chicago next year to Ignite, only because we want to see the crazy Finn standing on his hands and showing his ass to the camera. That might be cool as well. Yeah, you need admin rights. Don't know yet. Anyway, as you can probably see, it's an infrared camera, okay? So that's why it looks a bit weird. It works in different lighting conditions quite well. What we can do is we can prove you that it's not that easy to cheat. So I can do what I do well. Take a selfie. No, selfie. That's me. And then we can show this to the camera. Nada. Two things. One, There's the infrared light on, so the reflection of course blocks this, but also infrared requires some sort of change in temperature, so that you can't see a static image. That's why it is actually quite secure, although people tend to say that these facial recognition things are just for home users. For extra security, require turning your head left and right. That's awesome. We put that on, so when I lock my computer, and I have to be really quick because it sees me instantly. So I have to have my hand instantly before the camera, in front of the camera, otherwise it's really hard. You know, you walk past someone's computer, you want to have some extra things to do because otherwise like, oh, helpless walked by. Here's your admin access. So, okay, I'm going to take my hand off so it can see me. Turn your head slightly to the left and right. Awesome. Okay. Ooh, last Windows ever. Okay, Universal Apps, a new store. I'm trying to heal the world here a bit, sorry for that. But Windows as a two-step program to try to make the App Store that they have. See the thing here? I call it the App Store, which is kind of funny because, of course, it's Microsoft's store. Only Apple has App Store, but it's kind of exactly my point here, and intentional in that way, because it really is about the apps. If you want to sell this to consumers, the only thing that matters is the amount of applications you have and the quality of applications as well. So now the problem is that Microsoft is so way behind compared to Android and Apple, or Android and iOS. So they have to do this two-phase project. One, they start supporting download of AppV packages from the store. So you can announce publish normal desktop software in the store. And they will start supporting an emulation of Android and iOS software. So they can make the developers to really quickly put the stuff in the Windows Cloud as well, or Windows Store as well, hopefully. That's like the quick fix. And then the number two phase of this is to make this thing so much sexier that application developers would actually like to develop stuff for Windows. That's done by, sad to say, the biggest influencer here is Xbox. Universal Apps will run on Windows Mobile, so on phones and tablets, and on Windows desktops. Well, Windows desktops are quite cool, but if you would meet a developer and tell them like, I'm a highly experienced consultant in this matter, and I would like to recommend to you that if you want to make a hell of a lot of money, I would suggest you do your application on Windows Phone. That's a really good thing to do. It's like, that's nowhere near sexy. You do it for iOS. You know, your kids go to school and you tell them like, I would like you to use a Nokia Lumia phone or Microsoft Lumia phone. And they're like, what's that? Like, no, my friends use either it needs to be an iPhone or Samsung S something. That's usually what my kids that I know will tell me, okay? So they don't want it because it doesn't have the same apps that the friends have. It's the only thing that matters. But now, if you go and ask a kid about what kind of a game console do you play back home, then Xbox becomes as sexy as PlayStation 4. By many comparisons, actually better than PlayStation 4. The situation is totally different from the sofa than from the pocket, okay? So the phone thing is like, Windows Phone, no, only business users maybe, but no, not for my kids, no, not kids. But Xbox is like, cool, it has the freaking camera and stuff like that. So it's like, cool, pop. Now if you tell someone that, maybe if you do an application that you would like to run on a TV and you would like the kids to buy it with their parents' credit card without their permission, it's better to do it on Xbox. So, honestly, that's like the big picture here. They're trying to do is make it more appealing to developers. But now the quick fix is to allow everything from the store. Not everything, but if it runs as an AppV package, that's a good start. These can be also reused and licensed to Azure AD users. So an old example, because this will be only out in a few weeks maybe, strong maybe. So what you can do is now you don't need a Microsoft account anymore. So you can use Azure AD accounts, which makes finally one thing go away, which was ridiculous in 8.1. Your user in your company needs to buy a license for 2,000 euros, goes and buys it from the store, but it's tied to his Microsoft account, which is personal. So when he leaves the company, he takes the license with him. Now you can do volume licensing. You can buy 50 licenses for your company, and you can, with these tools, you can just give them to certain AD users. You can take them off and reuse them. So that finally fixes quite a lot of problems with the store. So, Azure AD. My strong quote down below, which I discussed with a few colleagues of mine just a few days ago. Try to tell people that Azure AD should be called Azure Authentication Services. Azure AD has nothing to do to compare it with the real AD. So I just had this a few days ago. The head architect of a big IT company in Finland, probably the biggest IT outsourcing company in the whole Europe, also customers in Finland. And I was speaking to their head architect of Active Directory. Think about it. Biggest company outsourcing, their head architect. And he asked me like, okay, so we have these Windows 10 joined computers here, but I have really hard time to add administrative rights to different AD users. Like what AD users? Azure AD users. Basically, the only way is for you to buy EMS or just use the global admins group, which is way too powerful because it can then administer every single computer that you have joined to the Azure. Okay, so it's that bad. We'll just wait a few months before they start supporting group policy from there. Like, I wouldn't place my money on that bet. It's not going to be AD in the cloud. It's authentication in the cloud. It's supposed to make your authentication to Office 365 and all sorts of apps easier. It's not supposed to replace your domain controllers. It's not you can't do, you know it easily. The same customer sent me one guy who's working for him. He sent me a picture. I'm now trying to add a user permissions to my ctemp folder. Ctemp, right click, security, add. There's no domain. No, because you're joined to Azure AD. But I have to be able to give the guy sitting next to me permissions to my temp folder. No, you don't. No, you don't, because you're using OneDrive. What is that? Basically. Like, you're Azure AD joined. You're supposed to use stuff that's in the cloud. Or if you really want to do this like you want to do it, you still have your old on-site AD, and then you do federation or you do sync. Then you can do both. That's the only way you can do it. You can't just, let's go to cloud totally and we will never have domain controllers anymore. We will all go to Azure AD. It's like, it's just an authentication service currently. It supports MDM, which is great. You should start looking into MDM, mobile device management. But there's not going to be a group policy. I see so many of you looking at each other around the room when I said that you should focus on MDM, so I'm going to take a minute on this. If you're working with servers, remember, there's 100 people working with desired state configuration to manage servers. If you go to Redmond, there's a building. I won't tell you which one. I know the number, but there's a building. Guys sit there. There's 100 people working with DSC, and there's 2 people working with group policy. That will tell you the story of where that emphasis is. If you want to manage servers in the future, DSC, that's way better to look at than try to wait for them to make it with group policy. And if you're workstation people, sorry, same thing goes. 2 people with group policy, way more than 100 engineers working with MDM. That's their emphasis on controlling workstations from now on. So it's like, you can be against it. You don't have to like it. But trust me, that's what they're going to do. If you want to see a short demo, I can do it here. So we have a computer that's joined to Azure AD. So this guy here, if we write who am I, it's called Azure AD / Sami Laiho. That's my Office 365 user account. So I have Azure AD because I have Office 365 and Intune, both actually. Both would give you an Azure AD. Azure AD is free, only for simple operations, but for testing you do need a credit card, but you don't need to pay anything. Azure AD as itself is totally free. But if you have Office 365 or Intune, you already have Azure AD. It's just there behind it, but you have it already. If you don't have it, you can go and register just the directory services from your Azure console. Doesn't cost you a thing. But then you have to go and allow joining devices to Azure AD. There's a setting that turns this functionality on. But now if you think about it, even from the old basic like NetLocal group, computer management and stuff like that, how would you point to this user? Kind of doesn't work the same. I can't say Azure AD Sami Laiho. I'm not the freaking only Sami Laiho in the world. So that's not a universal name. That's not a name that could point only to you in the world. Only to you in the world. It doesn't work like that. There's a local user that's created, kind of tied to the Azure AD user, like Microsoft accounts worked before. But now you can authenticate against Azure instead of Microsoft account. Currently, it doesn't support any syncing of settings like Microsoft accounts do. That'll be included in the really, really near future. So it's almost out now. So then you can also sync settings without a Microsoft account. That's not doable right now. So for me, of course, I'd say this is nice because I have a really small company. And if I log on to my box, I love the fact that I can just use my Office 365 account that I have anyway. This is joined to Azure AD, and I'm using my sami@adminize.com, which is my username for my Office 365. If I log on to any resources, those will be automatically single signed on. So I can go to resources without signing on. We can probably I wasn't planning on doing this demo at all, but maybe we can quickly go to portal.office.com so we can see it. So it's going to open up my Outlook. As you can see, it's not asking for any authentication. It's luckily all encrypted, so you can take a look if you want. But that's it. That's mainly the benefit that I get for running Azure AD Join. So it's not, you have to think of it a bit different way. I already told you about MDM. So Microsoft is moving this MDM platform to support also normal on-site computers. MDM used to be only for bring your own device. MDM used to be only for mobile devices. Now MDM is strongly taking over the old SCCM group policy kind of scenario. So they're trying to, why? And you know, this is like, I hate it. That's a really personal opinion, but I hate it because I'm so good in group policy. It's a freaking unlearning thing. I have to unlearn the old way. I can learn new things, but it's the thing that I know so well how, the same as PowerShell. I have no problem in learning PowerShell, but unlearning command prompt is the hard one. You know how long it will take me before when my relative calls me and I will usually say, open up CMD and run ipconfig. How long will that take before I go like naturally? Oh yeah, run PowerShell and run get-net IP address. So it's the unlearning thing that's usually hard. Now, MDM is a good example of that as well. So you just, sorry to say, but you kind of have to accept it. That's the way they want to do it. Why they want to do it? That's not a bad reason. It's because it can be used by other management engines than Microsoft's. Group policy is Active Directory only. MDM is Cisco, Microsoft, Symantec, whatever. So that's the good reason behind it. They want you to be able to use other platforms than Microsoft only. Maybe you use a Linux-based MDM, something like that. can also have computers automatically enroll to Intune from Azure AD joined, but then you need a premium version of Azure AD, which costs you a bit more money. So, but it can be done. That starts to be quite cool in like fast scenarios where you get a user, you need to enroll them for your company for a few months, for example. So why not? Like not joining them to a real AD, but you just like send them a email address, use that, and here's your temporary password. Log on to the box. They can join the computer to Azure AD, get Intune, get some sort of control for that time, but make it a lot more easier to be done by the end user compared to a normal traditional domain join. New hardware support. People miss this quite a lot. So I mean, people miss this fact. So there's stuff that people have told already, like luckily they finally fixed the DPI settings so you can use different sort of resolutions, which is awesome. But what many people don't know is that, for example, Intel Skylake was built in many ways to support Windows 10 functionality. So Intel and Microsoft worked in a really tight partnership with this. So Skylake, for example, added a support for Cortana. So the keyword spotter algorithm, meaning that Windows 10 can actually outsource the "Hey Cortana" phrase listening to the CPU itself. So the CPU can take care of, maybe you at some point, even if Windows is running, are going to say, "Hey Cortana," and then the Windows computer needs to wake up. Nowadays it just needs to be in this really limited standby mode to be able to all the time listen to your microphone. Now, scary NSA stuff easily. I don't know how much conspiracy theories you like, but Windows Hello support, it's built to support this. Intel actually built the first cameras, so that's an Intel RealSense 3D cam. Skylake supports that with total integration, so hopefully they're really fast, WGig, whatever that is. I have no idea how to pronounce that. So that is a wireless docking station standard. So Windows 10 supports this multi-gig connection between a wireless docking station and Windows 10 boxes. So that's Intel's technique as well. Edge has a support for something called SIMD, which is a support that basically allows Edge to do some multitasking that's not done before, and that's only available on the Skylake processor, nothing else. And then Intel also works quite a lot with trying to make sure that all the devices can behave the same. So Intel has they call it convergence, but it's their initiative of making sure that devices that run Intel chips on mobile phones, tablets, and computers all run Windows 10 equally. So that we could really have this one Windows 10 on every platform. Now I honestly have no idea what I was supposed to demo here. That's what we call a demo effect. Oh, now I remember. Good. This is really hard because I have so freaking many devices attached to this thing. But so Continuum. Now I have a start menu, and if I take my keyboard off from this thing, we change to a start screen. That's what they call the Continuum. So that is I think a nice feature if you're running a transformer or something that can take the keyboard off or on. So that's nice. I still don't think it's that important compared to the next slide. Sorry. The next slide. Here we go. So that's Continuum on phones. If you saw this last week, you probably seen actually the picture that I took it from. So they showed this on Lumia 950 devices. So you can just plug a mobile phone into a bigger HDMI screen with keyboard and Bluetooth mouse, and run your apps like you would on PC, because they're universal apps. They work the same on the mobile phone. The exactly same app runs on your mobile phone that runs on your desktop. Just get a lot bigger screen this way. They already started pre-selling the connector as well for the Lumia phones. So if you want to, it uses USB 3.1C, so it's a different connector. It's not using an HDMI straight to the phone. It has an adapter that has access to actually multiple displays. So, or should be, I'd say, because it's still not out there. I have 5 minutes to go. They actually showed me to me about like 2 minutes ago, so maybe I had 3 minutes ago. I wanted to, if I try to do a keynote, people will usually tell me like, keynote should be something to open up the day and not be too technical to start the morning with. So I've saved all the too technical stuff for the last 2 minutes, okay? Sorry for this, but I have to do it. I can't do this without it. It's just me. 2 really honestly important things about Windows 10 operating system itself in 2 minutes. Secure kernel. First of all, Windows 10 requires, this is important for you maybe, or at least probably some apps that you support. So big difference, politically especially, Windows 10 requires all kernel mode code, including drivers, to be signed by Microsoft. Not just signed like 8.1, but signed by Microsoft. So if you develop a driver, you need to go to the hardware developer website, log on using your Microsoft account, and ask for Microsoft to sign your driver. They want to do it because they want to identify who's signing. Until now, you could sign it with whatever. So that's actually like maybe a few minutes of your time more, but politically it's a big thing because they need you to identify with your Microsoft account. They want to make this, that people would look like it's harder to cheat. And it's not harder to cheat. I'm running, my username here is firstname.lastname@live.fi. So it's like, I just created it out of my head. But lately there's been problems with this, so I think one of the wisest things anyone has ever said was by Benjamin Franklin, although it has nothing to do with security, it ties into this very nice, which is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So of course talking about diseases, but it goes to security quite well. And that's why if we get PS blue screens of death, 27 million in 90 days, that's actually a very good number, it's a low number. So 27 million blue screens in 90 days, that's not bad. But out of that, 9.7 million in 30 days were caused by a single bad driver. So one bad driver signed, put into Windows Update, and you get 10 million blue screens in a month. So people don't really know. They think of it as security thing, but it's also a quality thing. So we need to have some quality in it. And you all heard this last week or the week before. Now Apple Store is in really big problems because China had about 1 million iPhones that are now infected with malware because of people skipping the real rules of signing for Apple Store, or App Store. They're in really big trouble now. So they want to do everything they can to prevent this. Currently, a computer needs to be infected first. So the kind of weird thing is that Windows now, like if you get something to Windows, it kind of needs to get into Windows first, and then a reactive solution will say, "Ooh, this looks bad. Let's not allow this," which is kind of ridiculous. So what Windows tries to do is change your way of thinking to device guard. And device guard is meant to whitelist the whole Windows box. Nothing can get in. Why is it better than app locker or software restriction policies? Because it's hardware level. It's also applicable to DLLs that app locker wasn't. It's almost, I'd say, impossible. I would never say it's impossible. I'd say almost impossible to bypass. And I spent a week in Sweden with Paula Januszkiewicz, if you know her. And Paula said that device guard is something you should implement because it makes their companies work very hard. And that should tell you something from a hacker's perspective. But it's, I know I'm over time. I'm going to talk to you a bit more. You can get a bit more slides. But I'm going to actually skip to something else. There's a few slides about the secure mode. I'll talk about it a bit when we get the second session today to stop the day. So I'll go through a few slides there more. I will have to skip to something else, which is this. Memory compression. Memory compression. I think many of you know how paging works in Windows. If something doesn't fit into your memory, if it's full, the only option is to take away a page and put it to the page file to get something else into your memory. What if, looking at this table, we could wrap the papers? Which would mean there's a lot more space. Okay? So, basics of page compression in, I think, somewhat easy to understand way. So what happens with this is that actually what happens in Windows, I'll go through this in my classes in a lot more detail. Normally in Windows, when a process needs to be trimmed because someone else needs that memory is moved to what's called a modified list. Then it maybe is written to the page file, but in Windows 10, instead of being written to the page file, by default, it's actually written inside of a process called system. Your basic second process you have in Windows ever. It's been there forever, but now it starts to get really big. Don't worry, it should be. Because everything is compressed inside of that user mode process's memory. And it's compressed there, which means that instead of doing paging, most of the time you can actually just read it from inside the memory. It's compressed, which means you'd write less to your SSDs. It makes your SSD life better than Windows 8.1, because you write less to the disk and SSDs will fail. So, I'm trying to figure out where's my... Luckily this is encrypted as well. No, I have a lot more slides. Well, not a lot, but a few more slides, which I thought of going through, but I won't. And now I can't even get this mouse working on my Surface after detaching the keyboard. It's a nice demo. So I'm trying to show you the freaking last slide. This is Office 2016. Start from the slide, and it takes you here. Honestly. This is just like crazy. Now you have some cutting to do for the video. It's honestly not working at all. Where's the old skip my PowerPoint thing? That's just that. No escape, no. Nothing. Control Alt Delete, no. Alt F4. Oh! Ooh! But it's quite, don't you think it's quite funny that Alt F4 works and Control Alt Del doesn't? That's cool. That's like against everything in Windows security. Nothing should block Control Alt Delete. And there's a... We're definitely not going to get there. I'll end this by telling you that Windows 10 is really cool and it works very well. Keynote 201. K201 is the keynote evaluation. Thank you.